Technical debt. What the heck is that? And is that something that you need to worry about? Well, we make a provocative statement that using MeteorJS can help you pay down technical debt. Now, I will tell you that almost everybody here today is going to have a different opinion on that. And I'm just making that statement to get things started. Today, we have Jan Storyteller, who is not with us in person today. He is in Cyprus at a conference. He was doing a meetup there for Meteor, and he's also recovering from whooping cough. But he's recorded a summary of the React conference, recent React conference, and he's got that for the news for us. And we're going to move quickly from that over into an open discussion. With us today, we have longtime Meteor aficionado, developer, person who runs his business with it, Adrian Lanning, and he's here with us. Okay, but just in case you haven't figured it out yet, we are at episode 40 of This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly news segment of the Meteor Dispatches newscast. All right, and having said that, and having completely missed the boat on all of this, I'm going to go straight to the news as we normally do. So we're going to keep it moving today, okay? And with that, let me bring up our recording with Jan. All right, and let's go. Hang on a second. Whoops, what did I do? I got him on stage, and then I got him off. Here we go.
All righty, let's get into the news. I bring you the news from the React world. Previous week, we had on May 15 to 16 React conference, ReactConf 2024, hosted by Meta and other people. So it was the biggest React event of the year. And this year, especially because we have React 19 hitting the release candidate stages. So there's a lot of news, a lot of interesting things happening. And here I have for you a few highlights that's come in React 19. Of course, we have the usual performance improvements, improvements when it comes to re-rendering, all that stuff with suspense was kind of gearing up towards what they have now. But interestingly, there is also this new hook called useOptimistic. You can guess by the name that it kind of grabbed my attention in relationship with Meteor, with optimistic updates. This kind of does, or is supposed to mimic what, once you do meteor.call and call methods, and if you have everything set up properly on both client and server, with the optimistic updates when it does a simulation and then displays that results of them while still waiting for the server. So this does something similar, but of course Meteor is more advanced that you just write the function once, maybe do some if meteor.is server, and Meteor takes care of it. Here you have to kind of do a lot of the things manually, where you kind of have to write the simulation again in the hook, and kind of do the results, populate it there yourself, and that is if it's only in one component. So very interesting progress. I'm kind of excited to see if we can maybe hook that somehow in to existing our Meteor hooks as well. Next big announcements, which I think is going to be a big win for a lot of people, is React Compiler. It's a Babel or Vite plugin that you add in, and it goes to your React code, and it improves the performance, specifically focusing on memoization. So it goes in and memoizes a component that adhere to the rules of hooks, and everything is fine. And they can find, that this can be memoized in this way. It's very nice if you run it in the, or if you run the React developer tools in the component list, you can see which one was memoized, and it has this nice, sparkles there. And I show you that it was done by the compiler. So that one should help you improve the performance. So that's pretty cool. Another big one, not you could say official React, but I think almost everybody in React is using it, especially with Meteor, is that React router is going to get, not really sure if a boost, but Remix is going to be merged into React router for the most part in the next major version. What happened there is that as they were building Remix in React router, they've realized and they've kind of came to a point that Remix was just React router plus some Vue plugins and Vue. So they decided to merge as much as possible into React router. Remix is going to take a bit of a break. They have some new ideas that they have not yet shared. It's going to come back in the future, but React router is going to get a lot of the functionalities. And I think there is quite a big opportunity here with Meteor, with having integration with React router and Vue and all that stuff to really get some interesting things going in the React area of Meteor. So definitely check out their talks, or you can check out their article here. So yeah, and also I think it's like 10 years old, React router and React, all that stuff. So it's kind of scary given all of that. So we have a lot of new things happening in React. I've been trying React 19 and React compiler myself. So far, so good. Action on the React packages. They create an issue for 6 called React 19, where I add some of my notes to it, and I would like to hear your ideas how we can improve the React Meteor integration, our existing hooks, and so on. So let me know, or let everybody know what you think. If you have done any experimentation with it, please share your experiences so that we can get moving on this. I think it's going to be a very powerful addition in combination with Meteor 3. And with that, on to the next news.
Okay, and actually, we're keeping the news really short this week, so this will be it for the news. And Jan, I think we need to remind people about what we're
Yes. Yes. So we know from past analytics and also some other statistics that still a lot of people watching our show still haven't subscribed to the show. So if you don't want to miss any episode, then hit the subscribe button and then you will be notified next time when the next show is coming up. But also if we have other videos being published or shorts or whatever we are coming up with in the next weeks or month. And if you like the episodes, of course, hit the like button and let us know what program you like the most. And coming from that, I would like to transit over to the next topic because we wanted to talk about technical depth, right? And I prepared a little input here as a starting point for discussion. That's just a little overview because there are many views on technical depth, many different layers, targets, whatever you could think of that comes into your mind with technical depth. But this slide focuses a little bit on something else. It focuses on frameworks because we're in the Meteor community, right? And I just wanted to look on these things from a Meteor standpoint of view as a framework that abstracts dependencies away for you, in contrast to more lightweight frameworks that provide rather core functionality and let you manage the dependencies. And I don't want to do any judgment at that point, but rather show that these are different types of technical depth that can arise when it comes to dependencies, when it comes to frameworks. And it's not that one is better or the other. These are just different types. And I think starting from this point, like on the left, just to remind you, so on the left side, the blue one, that's rather the Meteor way. And but coming from that point, I think it's time to give some introduction to our guest and let him take over for now, right?
Well, yeah, let's introduce the other person that's here with us to help us discuss this topic, and then he's actually going to be talking about some future with us, with some ideas that we've been discussing together. This is an old friend of mine, the person that I worked with at the Meteor New York community for many years, putting on events. This is Adrian Lanning of On-Scene Technologies. And with that, I'm going to let Adrian do a more thorough introduction of himself for those of you who might know him and those of you who may not.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I have been developing software professionally for more than 20 years. So I will forgive Alim for the old friend introduction. Maybe in the future you can just say a good friend.
Okay.
No, but yeah, I've learned some things along the way, and happy to help share in whatever way can be useful for the community. Yeah, so I co-founded a company called On-Scene Technologies with Eric Endres, my partner, and our goal is to help keep people safe during emergencies. So our product Share 911 is it's a private mass notification system for organizations or school districts. Specifically, we're trying to help keep everyone safe during the emergencies and aid the first responders in knowing what's happening during the emergencies, and to let people help each other as well. So yeah, so technical debt is something that everybody has to deal with. And I have a tiny slideshow here, just 2 slides here. I did an informal survey among our team about what do people think of when they hear technical debt. So refactoring, lack of time, too much work, not enough tests. I think these are pretty common. So these are all kind of negative terms, but I wanted to also talk about why it happens, and it's not always a negative thing. So we, yeah, and I think you had one extra that you wanted to add here. What do you think of when you think of technical debt?
The most important is laziness.
Another negative. All right. So
Yeah.
let's jump over to how does it accrue? Why does it happen? So for a more positive spin on it, I think these are, in my experience, these are why it happens. So time constraints, this kind of gets into changing priorities as well. So different tasks are prioritized differently. It can be from the get-go, you know that you only have this amount of time to get the work done, and there are some things that you're leaving off. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? These are, like, from the startup world, we learn to be pragmatic, and the reason that it can be bad is if you leave it for too long and you don't go back and then learn from your mistakes or start fixing things. But I don't think it's inherently a bad thing. I think any project will have some form of technical debt. And really when we say technical debt, we're talking about the decision making. So you've made decisions about what to work on now and what to leave off to later. And when you think of decision making in an engineering standpoint, it's all about trade-offs. So there's a reason that you have left these things off for later. There's a reason that engineers who build bridges build in a safety factor. And there's a reason that the safety factor is not usually times 10. It's usually like times 3 or times 4, something like that. because there's cost benefits, right? It's all cost benefit analysis. So one of the things that can also cause technical debt is this this gaining experience in the platform technologies, languages, etc. And I think that that's also a positive thing. So the need to refactor could be because you just didn't have enough time to do it in the beginning, but it can also be because you have learned, right? You've gained experience in your own abilities. I know when I go back and look at code that I wrote like 6 months ago, I'm like, oh, geez, who wrote this? Oh, it was me. Okay. So usually when you go back and you look at your old code, you can find things that you think will be better. You can improve it in some way. And usually that's because you've gained your experience to know the trade-off that you made at that time. Maybe you're changing how you view the value of those different things that you were weighing when you did it. So maybe now you value simplicity a little bit more. Usually this is how it goes. You value ease of maintenance a little bit more. You kind of devalue the cleverness factor a little bit more. Try to be more explicit in things. Try to be more self-documenting. I think there were some comments about that in the past. But yeah, so that's kind of a general overview of to set the stage for what technical debt is and how it accrues. So, Jan?
I would like to add here that there's also another factor that has something to do with changing priorities and gain experience, but it's not about someone's own situation. But for example, if your management changed and the new management has a different opinion on things, might be from a positive or a negative point of view. Like from a positive point of view, that the new management has a much more understanding of the importance of things like refactoring or something like this, or the new management has much more pressure on you, like, hey, we need much more features in time and you need to be faster, you know. So this is like a fourth, like a meta level, because it's a little bit out of your influence, but it's also an important factor, I think.
No, that's a great point. Absolutely, it is about changing priorities, and what we didn't talk about yet is that the different stakeholders have different priorities. So from a technical perspective, we would prioritize things such as maintainability and the ability to make sure that that regressions don't happen. So adding tests and things like that, speed of development.
I think there's also,
sorry?
I think there's also another element here that's not considered, and or maybe it's embedded in these three, which is cost, because in some cases you've got the business side that don't really understand the impact that some of these technical decisions are going to make, and they're looking to reduce cost, or they're going to underinvest because they just don't see the benefit of putting the extra effort in. And so I think cost becomes a factor, especially in smaller shops or in shops where you don't necessarily have an engineering lead who is at the C level.
Yeah, absolutely. One comment about that is highlighting the importance of communication. Mm-hmm. So we talked a little bit about the priorities of the technical side, and then Alim, you were talking a little bit about the priorities of more of the business side. So they have promises that they've made to customers. They have markets that they want to go into. And this all gets back to the beauty of competition and how good that is, because it drives us forward, but it also applies some pressures, right? So we have stress, we have some balancing that needs to be done between the business side that keeps the company healthy and keeps everybody paid, and then the technical side, which is making sure that the product itself is healthy. Yeah, so yeah, it was good. Did we want to talk about how Meteor impacts the technical debt side?
Yeah, that's a provocative statement that I made at the beginning, right? I believe that there are tools such as Meteor, and when I think about full stack frameworks, I think that they can actually help reduce or eliminate some of the technical debt. I will say, by the way, I think that there is a larger view on this, which is yes, it does, but then it introduces a new type of technical debt. But here's the thing: if you have to build everything from scratch, if you're just an entirely artisanal shop, and you start and you build your own, network handlers, and you build your own TCP/IP stack, yeah, I mean, you'll have control over it, and you might have some say of what that looks for. And if you've got a long enough vision, you've got enough money, you might be able to say, I'm going to eliminate all the technical debt. But the truth of the matter is, you've got to get stuff out quickly, and we rely on other people's code. And to me, a framework or a platform, I consider Meteor platform technology, MeteorJS, allows you to not have to think about all the other options that are out there in the marketplace, because it's an opinionated stack in terms of your data stack, in terms of your middleware. And it gives you a set of tooling from which you can actually build from and do so quickly. And I think in that case, there are many people that I think have built applications that are still running today with not a lot of technical debt, from the perspective of they're not going to be making a heck of a lot of changes. Although you could say that the migration from the 2 series or the 1 series, 2 series, the fibers-based Meteor now going over to async is a form of technical debt. But my feeling is that when you use something like Meteor, you can limit and eliminate a lot of technical debt. Now that I've thrown that grenade into the room, what do you guys say?
Could you switch to my slide? I would comment
Sure.
something on that. Definitely.
I had a very visceral reaction when you said at the beginning, Alim, that Meteor helps with technical debt. I was like, no way, man. Yes, but okay. I actually think that you're probably right about that.
There's something that I would like to add here. So I was last time for some publication, I was reading up again this big book from Eric Evans about domain-driven design. And I didn't read the book. I read up in the book, but I didn't read the whole book because it's really a lot. And but there was a very interesting thing I remembered after reading it again, and that applies to Meteor, and that is that he wrote that a good framework abstracts a way for you infrastructure work, and not infrastructure in terms of network infrastructure or something, but in terms of code infrastructure. Yeah. And I think this is what Meteor does really well, because it abstracts away exactly those kind of parts I don't want to deal with as a developer, because I just assume that stuff to work, because this is like all this standard stuff, like this whole data layer thing, or this whole thing starting the server, having the connection between client and server established, all these things that I never want to touch, simply because this is just the groundwork. This is like what Eric Evans called like this infrastructure, the fuel, like in your wall, the cables.
I call this plumbing.
Yeah, the plumbing. And this is what you never want to implement your own. This is what the framework does. And I think this is the part where, in my opinion, Meteor is very strong still, even with things like with fibers, or having some parts of the code being much older, or some even still in ES5. I mean, these are nuances that can be fixed over time, but the overall wireframe, I would say, or the overall skeleton is very strong at that point. And that's something where I think it's okay to have some technical depth then, as long as it it makes way for me to focus on the things that matter. No, that's my point.
I think, and Adrian, I think you should jump back in with what you were going to say before in a second. I think what happens with the case of, you know, situations where you have frameworks or platforms is that you're really just, in a way, shifting that technical debt onto a different team, right? So that is, but what hopefully you get out of it is you have a competent team that really understands that framework or platform, that is able to, you know, triage and manage and prioritize that debt and make sure that it gets handled, so that it just doesn't get handled just for you, but it gets handled for a whole bunch of other people. So that's sort of like how I look at it. I don't necessarily think that that's the best argument, but I want to hear other arguments. And Adrian, I agree with you with the visceral feel, because when I thought about it before, I did get this gut reaction, but I don't know whether or not it's like, check your gut, you know what I mean? And just, what was it that I'm trying to remember what his name is, but he basically said, like, you know, just give it 30 seconds and then come back to it. Adrian, go ahead.
So I think you're right on about it shifting the responsibilities. So the way I would put it is, frameworks allow you to focus on your core competencies and leave and kind of stand on the shoulder of giants, hopefully, to relieve some of that burden from you and allow they should be a force multiplier that lets you achieve your goals faster and in a more reliable fashion. So from that perspective, using a framework, and I would say using any kind of library, it's not eliminating the technical debt. It's allowing you to shift your focus, and you are absolutely going to be inheriting the technical debt of the framework and the libraries that you're bringing in. But hopefully those were written by people whose core competencies match, you know, the requirements to build a stable framework or library. Jan, I would disagree with this this diagram here. I don't think that there's any framework that will handle all of the dependencies for you. So I think that actually it's always going to be a mix of these two.
Sorry for that. Yeah, that was a little bit very strong with that, how I designed it. The idea was to show that frameworks like Meteor encapsulate lots of dependencies for you. As they are in the core, lots of dependencies are there you don't see. You just use Meteor core packages, but behind them there are lots of NPM dependencies, for example, that are chosen by the Meteor core developers and the community that drives that core. And as opposed to that, on the right side, I would say there's something like React Native. Without anything else, React Native is actually really the right side. You can't really develop a React Native application without using Expo, for example, which is, again, something on the left side. It also encapsulates a lot of dependencies, brings you these nice bindings for lots of capabilities from the phone out of the box. And without that, you would have to manage these dependencies all on your own, all the time. New SDK comes out, you have to recompile things and so on. And so React Native without any supplement would be really the right side version. There's really no dependency hidden there in a sense that it's encapsulated in the framework anymore, which is the case for Meteor.
No, I like how you kept it unlabeled, right? We didn't say like Meteor is this one. We didn't say React Native is that one. It's like this is a good basis for discussion. Shall we talk about plans for the future for this technical debt discussion? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my understanding. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go on, Adrian.
So my understanding is that one thing we're trying to do to provide value for the community is to show how to take care of technical debt, how to reduce technical debt with actual practical examples. So we are looking for projects that we can kind of use as examples. And the goal is not to say that they were done, that anything was wrong with them. It's just that we can take a project and look at how we could potentially reduce some of the technical debt that may be there. First, we would analyze what technical debt is there. Is there anything there? Is there anything that could be changed? If we did make changes, what are the trade-offs of those changes? Would it improve things? How does it make things not as nice? So it could be an application, like they do have to be open source. So it could be an open source application. It could be an open source library. It could be a package for Meteor, but it doesn't have to be Meteor specific. It could be an NPM thing. At least that's my understanding. Is that what you guys are thinking? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Alim wanted to say something. You were faster. Come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm talking before I took my microphone back on. So, Adrian, you and I chatted about this, and I think you helped me clarify where we would go with it. And I had suggested package at one time, and you pointed out, I think quite convincingly, that package refactoring is useful, but it's not as useful as looking at an application in total. And when I discussed this with the other Jans, they agreed with you on this point. So that's exactly, I think you've stated it very well. What we're looking for is some kind of contribution from the community. You have a project that you're working on that you've been building or whatever, and you believe that there is a possibility that we could do something to help improve that, and look and find and see whether or not there's technical debt in your code. So if you've got that, and if you've got something and you're interested in having us take a look at it and maybe use it as the basis for these refactoring exercises, then where should they put it? Should they just post it here in the in the comments?
Would be great. I mean, we're available on multiple channels. They can post it in the comments. That's totally fair.
You know what we should do? We should open a forum post.
Yes.
And then have people put their submissions there. Okay?
Yeah. That's good. I mean,
I'm gonna do that as we.
You muted yourself again.
I said, you guys keep on talking, and I will create the post right now.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay.
Okay.
I totally support the idea to rather focus on a real application, because I think this is the real world case that developers face, and doing package work is something that's also crucial. I agree, but actually, the application use case makes also much more sense in a way that you have different kind of complexities to handle there with a real application than with a package. You have other considerations, and sometimes that's also a thing. And sometimes you make much different decisions in an application than with a package. So when I'm writing a package which I know other people will use, I automatically write much more sophisticated code, much more modular. But when I'm in an application, sometimes it's like, nah, that works. That will work. And then it pays back like 5 months later or something.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so I think the way I'm envisioning this is that we would potentially have a live coding session that would be separate from this show.
Yep.
We want to make sure that this show is kept to a set, minimalist time frame here. So we would probably be doing recordings of the live programming, if that. So if people are interested in that, they can actually see the thought process and things like that to go into making any changes. And then on this series, we would be presenting basically the before and after, and then maybe just a little bit about why these changes were suggested. and get some different opinions about that.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly how we do it. We'd either do this as a deep dive episode or some other content type. Well, we can look at that. I think we've had a number of different playlists that we put together ahead of time where we've been thinking about doing live coding. So we'll get back to the membership, the viewership, and let them know exactly where they would see it. But they would see it basically in the MeteorJS community channel. Adrian, I don't know if you have a channel of your own that you want to cross stream from.
I do not, no.
Okay, that's an option also. I mean, if you wanted to go down that path, but right now we could just certainly do a cross. We could just do a live stream from the Meteor community channel, and then we can take that live stream content, cut it up, and put together something that's a lot more consumable as videos that can be used.
What I also like to address here is that format would also leave room to introduce some deeper refactoring concepts. Like these resources from Martin Fowler or something. Alim and I talked before that. There is this book, Refactoring, from Martin Fowler, initially written in 1997 or something, and then with a second edition in 2019. And I really can only suggest this book. There's also a website related to that book that has some short versions. I can try to put it on screen. Give me a second. And maybe we can.
If I could jump in while you're pulling it up. Yeah, I'm not against. I mean, it doesn't have to be just me. So I love to pair program, and if we wanted to do that, I think it would be good to have that kind of discussion and show people differing opinions about what we think is useful, how we agree on certain things. And to Jan's point about referencing the sources for where we are getting our advice and where our experience has led us. Like, for example, for me, there was a book called Complete Code that was a big impact.
Complete Code or Code Complete?
Oh, Code Complete. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Code Complete. So we can say, like, I'm pulling from this, Jan is pulling from the refactoring side, and sharing those references is also going to be useful, I think.
And in the end, that's what makes it all up in the end, right? You have multiple things that influence that, from clean code to these refactoring or architecture. There are so many influences, and I think that might be a very interesting series to cover these topics in this context of of this updating an old project or something.
Yeah. And just to reiterate, it's not to say that the existing project is bad. It's just to help with this discussion and potentially improve it in certain factors, like certain ways. So make it more resistant to regressions, make it easier for somebody to jump in and help. The goal is to really help that project that we're spending time focusing on. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I realize my microphone is on. You're probably hearing me typing right now. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create the topic so I can get the URL for it right now. And I'm going to share it right now here in a banner. So you just give me a moment and I'll get it up there. Hang on one second. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me just share the screen for a second, and then the link will be available in the newsletter. All right. So let me just share my screen for a second. I apologize for the bit of delay that we're getting here. Present, share screen. Yep. Okay. All right. I am in the process of writing this right now. So guys, this is not entirely what it is. Adrian or others will probably come in here and help me modify this a bit and make it more, as you can see, I ended on in the middle of a sentence on item 4. So the post of the TWIM team and Adrian Lanning is looking for a Meteor app project for live coding improvements, right? Maybe not be the best title. I don't know. Is there a way we can improve this title?
I think we can work on that later.
Okay.
We probably want to wrap this up pretty soon, but
Yep.
yeah, it doesn't have to be just one. Like, we're not just going to focus on one project and that's it. So it can be multiple projects. That's the hope. So we can see varying different levels of how like the age of the project. Is it a very new project? Is it kind of more mature and larger project?
Yeah, we can try with a variety of things. I think the live coding is one of the items on the survey that we've done from the channel that folks say that they want to see more of. So I think that would be very helpful. One of the other things that they claim that they want more of too is better tutorials. So perhaps we can even use one of these projects to teach specific Meteor concepts.
Yeah, the tutorials I think are super useful, but it's the focus there is to teach different things. So you're kind of showing the right way to do things according to the known best practices at the time. But what you're not getting is when you step onto a booby trap, when you start having trouble, how do you go about solving those problems?
Yep.
And then what are the tools that we reach for when we aren't sure what's going wrong, and how do you debug and diagnose and dig further into things? So I think that's kind of what you get from the live coding that you don't really get from a tutorial. What I would recommend for everybody that is writing any kind of README or tutorial is include a troubleshooting section, because you probably did run into problems when you were creating it, whatever it is that you're writing about. If you just keep some notes about what went wrong, include the error message, people can search it, and then show a little snippet about the resolution. I think it's really valuable for READMEs and any documentation to have that.
Okay,
this is totally valuable.
I apologize. I realized that Jan had wanted me to post something up here, and I didn't get a chance to do it before because I was busy typing. Jan, can you just get back to this for a second here?
Yeah, and I just let me switch to that. So there is the refactoring book from Martin Fowler has also a counterpart catalog, but without descriptions. But if you have read the book, you know usually what's going on there. But there are lots of refactoring pattern, and this is really cool because you can look it up again, and just by seeing the graphics and the code example, it should come back to the mind. Oh, okay, that was this pattern. What and what's it about? And this is really cool because you don't need to be strict about pattern, but there are lots of good reasons why these patterns exist, and you don't need to use them all the time. But if you know a few of them, then it makes much more sense to apply. Then you know when it makes sense to apply them or not. Right, and I just want to say, if I will spot some of these patterns, for example, then I would try to make an explanation like, hey, this is the decomposed conditional, and in order to get rid of these explicit variables in here and make it a function that returns just the final thing, because this is testable. You can extract that in somewhere else. Maybe you can reuse it somewhere else, and so on. And right. Sorry, I wanted to say something else in regard to the troubleshooting. Actually, I wanted really to say something on the troubleshooting because I just submitted my publication on something where onboarding of developers was also part in the latest section, And we tested our documentation quality on certain procedures, also on installation of the project and setting up things. And things went south hard because it also involved to install Android SDKs, and then it was across platform. The one had Linux, the other had Mac OS, and then there were some specifics in the not POSIX conform scripts, and then it didn't run on all shells and so on. The problem was there was no troubleshooting information, like where to look now. And what did the people do? They do what they always do, like they open ChatGPT, they open Stack Overflow and so on, and they wasted hours in order to get to the point what could have been solved with a simple troubleshooting section or with a little information on, hey, if trouble occurs there, it might be usually from this and that, something like this.
It's funny you mentioned that every single one of those problems that you just mentioned, we have absolutely run into, like different platforms that if you just say Android, everything blows up. Just
Yeah. So and I bet that if we would ask not only the Meteor community but also in other developer communities, that these are typical things that occur all the time. And I know that knowledge base making is often avoided because you have to manage the knowledge base as well and so on. But on the other hand, if you have such thing, it's so awesome, to know to just look like, okay, what's the problem here? Oh, okay, and you get an immediate fix for that issue. That's rewarding.
All right. Now, I think we've exhausted the topic here. Can we move on, guys? What do you think?
Yep.
I think.
All right. Well, I think we're towards the end here, and that's fine. I just want to remind folks that if you are using open source software, I've said this before, open source software, even when you get it for free, is really not free. Somebody has to build it, somebody has to work on it, somebody has to maintain it. And so if you have a favorite project that you are using, consider if the project has sponsorship options, sponsoring those projects. It could be Meteor, it could be something else. And within Meteor, we have sponsors of our own. We have both storytellers. I'm sorry, not sponsors, but we have a couple of our members here who have sponsorship pages, and let me share those with you. Normally, Jan gets all of these things set up, and he is much better at this than I am. And why am I not able to? Okay, there we go. There's the share screen. So Storyteller is not with us, but he has a sponsored page on GitHub. We have the links in the show description. So if you go down into the description below, you will get the link to there. And as well as, let me go back again. Wow, why is this being a problem here? And then, of course, we have Jan Küster's page. So the point is, if you value and appreciate the work that they've been doing with the Meteor project, both on the core work and on the community packages, it's a lot of their own personal time that they use for this. Go in and give them a star on their project. Let them know that you appreciate it. And if you're able to make a financial contribution, that's also appreciated. So again, as I said before, support open source. Let people know that you appreciate the work that they do, either by acknowledging it or by providing some financial incentive. And with that, I think we are done for the week. Are we not? Or is there something I'm missing here? Oh, Jan, I think there is something.
Yes. So if you have missed any episode, you can. Oh, sorry.
I'll take care of that. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I forgot to open I closed my thing. So if you missed any episode, there's actually a playlist of the entire podcast series. And we tried to be very consistent to put out an episode every week. I think there was only 1 week where we did not put out an actual episode. But besides that, you can take a look at the list and get back. Every episode is numbered and has a title, so you should be able to find anything that happened in the past. Sometimes we do reference to older episodes, and just because they happened in the past doesn't mean that they're outdated, right? So this is also, it's like, this is not software. So
no, there is, obviously there's going to be some dated material with this, but there is a lot of information in them that we try to make sure transcends just the moment that they're made in. So, I think one of the things we probably should do is just go back and just take an inventory of, well, we do have the documents for it too. So take an inventory of the different topics that we've covered that people might get some value with, and we publish that either in the newsletter or someplace separately. Okay. And for those of you who have not been there yet, let me see. It's MeteorJS dispatches. We have a Substack newsletter. Adrian, did you get the newsletter this week?
I did, yes.
Okay. And so what we try to do is we try to capture, we have a little paragraph that talks a little bit about the episode that we did, and then all the linked resources that we show on the show or we talk about are put in that newsletter, and then it's mailed out to the subscribers each week. So we try for Monday at 7 in the morning. We had a national holiday here in the United States this past week, and then we were still gathering some information from the Meteor team. So it went out, I believe, on Wednesday. It went out. So, but next week it'll be back again to starting Monday. And as we go forward, we're going to try to backfill in the episodes that we've not captured this way from the past. So what we're looking for is a whole repository of links. And when you have, let's see here. Oh, hang on a second. Sign in with password. Let me just do this right now. There we go. Once you've subscribed and you have membership, then you will also have access to all the old episodes that are here, or all the old issues of the newsletter that are here. We were at the very beginning also posting our podcast as we had put it on Spotify. We have not put it on Spotify for a while. We'll go back to stripping the episodes and then pushing it onto Spotify. I guess maybe starting next week. It's quite a bit of work, so trying to do all these different things is a lot of work. So in any case, we'll try to get these to you as much as possible. But as you can see, you can kind of match from the thumbnail the episode that's there on YouTube. Okay, and with that, Jan, is there anything else you want to add?
Totally not. Only the one thing, hopefully the other Jan is with us next week again.
Yeah, I hope he recovers well from Cyprus. We love your voice, Jan, and we'd love to have you back here too. And Adrian, is there anything that you want to share before we go?
No, just thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
No worries. And with that, I'm going to say have a great weekend, guys. Take care. And